Hello my friends, so we've made it to the end of the first month of 2026, and why does it feel like we've had a year's worth of bad news in just a month? Some of you may actually already know the answer to that. You see, constant negative media cycles and throwing loads of information at us all at once is also a political strategy known as flooding the zone, and it's sometimes used to overwhelm people with information. You see, research shows that when we're overwhelmed by constant negative news, we become more stressed, we reduce our critical thinking and don't question as much, and we're more receptive to fear-based messaging. And that's exactly why I created this show, to help keep us united at a time it feels we're trying to be divided more than ever, and keep us activated, pushing for a better future and holding our leaders accountable. This show wouldn't be possible without you watching this right now, so thank you so much for being here and for being a part of it. If you're new here, I'm Sam and I make videos highlighting good news and solutions to some of the world's biggest problems. And if you've been here before, thanks for being a part of this wonderful community, and as always, tap that like button to help us fight back against the doom and gloom and push more positive media out there instead. So let's get into it. Here's some good news from January that you might have missed. And we're starting with news that a dementia vaccine may already exist, and millions of people may have taken it without knowing. Research led by Stanford University suggests that the shingles vaccine can reduce the risk of developing dementia by around 20% and may even slow the progression of the disease in people who already have it. The researchers analysed health records from more than 280,000 older adults in Wales, taking advantage of a shingles vaccination programme introduced in 2013. Because eligibility was based on a very narrow age cutoff, scientists were able to compare nearly identical groups, making the results unusually reliable. They found that people who received the shingles vaccine were significantly less likely to develop dementia over the following years. And even more striking was that among people who already had dementia, those who were vaccinated were far more likely to still be alive years later. Scientists don't yet know exactly how the shingles vaccine protects the brain, but if confirmed by future studies, it could become one of the most accessible tools ever for reducing the impact of a disease that currently has no cure. And in another health win, Brazil just became the first country with over 100 million people to eliminate mother-to-child transmission of HIV, achieving a historic public health milestone. The country ensured that over 95% of pregnant women receive prenatal care, HIV testing, and timely treatment, reducing the rate of babies born with HIV to below 2%. And now moving on to some wins for wildlife, and young Atlantic salmon declared critically endangered in Britain in 2023 have returned to 3 rivers in northwest England for the first time in a decade, marking a major turnaround for a species whose British populations have declined by 30 to 50% since 2006. And there was also some huge salmon news in the US too, as coho salmon have returned to California's Russian River for the first time in over 30 years after a statewide recovery strategy was put in place. Juvenile coho salmon was spotted in the upper basin in Mendocino County last summer, the first confirmed natural reproduction in the area since 1991. This was thanks to improved fish passages, habitat restoration, and even a rescue effort when it was discovered that these juvenile fish had become stranded in an isolated and drying pool. Between 2021 and 23, California's actually rescued nearly 14,000 coho salmon from drying pools during drought years, helping rebuild healthy populations statewide. The state's salmon strategy isn't just about restoring a species though, it's about honouring tribal sovereignty, protecting ecosystems, and ensuring that these rivers run for future generations. Over in Assam in India, which is home to the world's largest population of one-horned rhinos, primarily in Kaziranga National Park, it is reported that no rhinos were poached in 2025 for the second time in 3 years, thanks to 5 years of strong protection measures. And our final wildlife win takes us to London. White storks are making a historic return to London, bringing one of Europe's most iconic birds back to the UK capital for the first time in over 600 years. Following the successful reintroduction at the Knepp Estate in West Sussex, where 45 wild storks fledged this year, the species will now be brought to East Brookend Country Park in Dagenham, East London. The project builds on the recent restoration of wet meadows and pastures in the area to ensure the storks can flourish, and it will make the park a flagship learning destination for local schools and families. The project is part of a broader rewilding effort that will also see beavers released into the park's former gravel pits in 2027. These ecosystem engineers will create new wetland habitats rich in invertebrates and amphibians, which create the perfect hunting grounds for storks. The initiative is supported by £500,000 from the Mayor of London's Green Routes Fund, which is investing more than £12 million over 3 years to support 26 environmental projects across the capital. They will also employ a stork officer to work with local schools, helping build connections between young people and our natural world. On the subject of building connections, this next story is a big win for any travel lovers. A brand new sleeper train route is launching this summer, connecting Amsterdam and Brussels directly through the Swiss Alps to Milan, making sustainable travel through Europe easier than ever. European Sleeper, a community-owned railway company, will start running trains 3 times weekly starting June 18th. The route follows the historic Simplon route through Switzerland, stopping at the stunning shores of Lake Maggiore before arriving in Milan the next morning, with inspiring early morning views of alpine valleys and serene lakes along the way. The route also creates easy connections across the continent, as Brussels links to London, Cologne connects Hamburg and Berlin, and Milan provides access to Venice, Florence and Rome. Tickets go on sale early this year, with pricing accessible for all types of travellers, from budget-conscious passengers to those seeking extra comfort. And whilst we're travelling through Europe, I want to briefly stop off in the Netherlands and introduce you to someone I met a couple of months ago. This lady is making textiles using human hair to fight back against the toxic pollution in the textile industry. This is Sophia Koller, founder of Human Material Loop, based in the Netherlands, who wants to change society's perspective on hair.
Hair is viewed in 2 ways by society. Once until it's on top of your head, it's the most precious piece you can imagine. But once it's on the floor, it's the biggest ick. Hair is made of keratin, the strongest protein that nature has ever created. It's just an amazing material to work with.
So how exactly does she turn it into textiles? Hair is collected from salons or donation centres. Everything above 3 centimetres gets sorted and cleaned. It's then processed into yarns or non-woven products at a spinning mill in Barcelona. It can then be woven into fabric to make clothes, insulation, carpets and more. The goal is to replace materials like polyester and wool, but also take on a destructive industry.
The textile industry is one of the most exploitative industries that exists today. It has a lengthy supply chain, untraceable, often includes exploitation, child labor, and unethical practices. What we can provide here is a fully traceable system, a material that does not need any land, water usage, pesticides, and no animals are hurt in the process.
Would you wear a sweater made from hair? Let me know down in the comments. And if you're enjoying this video so far, please drop a like and subscribe down below. Our next story takes us to New York, where they've announced they're launching free childcare for 2-year-olds in New York City, part of an unprecedented push towards universal childcare for all children under 5 across the state. Governor Kathy Hochul and newly elected Mayor Zohran Mamdani announced the partnership to launch 2Care, a programme offering completely free childcare for 2-year-olds in New York City, with the state fully funding the first 2 years. The rollout will begin in high-need areas in year 1 and expand citywide by year 4. Statewide, it will provide affordable childcare for nearly 100,000 additional children through universal pre-K expansion, new community care programs, and expanded subsidies. All 4-year-olds in New York State will have pre-K access by the 2028-2029 school year, with the state committing roughly $500 million to ensure every child enters kindergarten ready to learn. New York also had the lowest number of shootings in its history last year, and this built off new data from 570 law enforcement agencies that show that murders and violent crime in the US have experienced the biggest 1-year drop in history. The stats show a 20% decline in murders compared to this time last year, and mass killings reached their lowest since 2006. China's artificial sun just broke a nuclear fusion limit that scientists thought was impossible to break, removing one of the biggest roadblocks to clean near-limitless energy. Nuclear fusion mimics the process that powers the sun. When 2 atomic nuclei smash together under extreme pressure and heat, they release enormous amounts of energy. Scientists have been trying to recreate that process here on Earth, but experiments have been limited by a theoretical ceiling on plasma density known as the Greenwald limit, which causes a fuel to become unstable at a certain level. But China's experimental advanced superconducting tokamak reactor, try saying that 10 times, just achieved plasma densities 30 to 65% higher than this limit. What this means is that fusion reactors may no longer be capped by how much fuel they can safely hold. If plasma can stay stable at much higher densities, future reactors can run hotter, produce more power, and get closer to the point where fusion generates more energy than it consumes, bringing fusion energy a step closer to becoming an achievable source of clean energy. From cleaner energy to cleaner products, France became one of the first countries to ban forever chemicals in cosmetics and most clothing, with the law taking effect on January 1st this month. These man-made chemicals, also known as PFAS, used since the 1940s to create non-stick, waterproof and stain-resistant products, take centuries to break down and have now been detected everywhere from Mount Everest to human blood and brains, with chronic exposure linked to liver damage, cancer and reduced immune responses. The ban prohibits the production, import or sale of any product containing PFAS where alternatives already exist, including cosmetics, ski wax and most clothing. While France is taking the most radical action, Denmark is due to follow with similar legislation later in the year, and some US states have also introduced similar laws. And here's the really encouraging part. At the same time as governments starting to ban these chemicals, scientists are finding ways to clean up the pollution that's already there. Scientists just created a material that captures and destroys forever chemicals in water up to 1,000 times faster than current filters, plus it can be reused. Researchers at Rice University created a material that's made from copper and aluminium arranged in layers like a stack of sheets, and it works like a sponge, soaking up and trapping the toxic chemicals within minutes, about 100 times faster than commercial carbon filters. And it's already been successfully tested in river water, tap water and wastewater. But here's the breakthrough. After capturing the chemicals, the system safely breaks them down without releasing toxic byproducts. The process also regenerates the material for reuse, and it's been tested through at least 6 complete cycles. This makes it the first eco-friendly sustainable system that combines rapid cleanup with repeated reuse, offering real hope for tackling one of the world's most stubborn pollution threats. Before the last couple of stories, I want to say a big thank you to my Patreon and YouTube community who helped me produce these videos and help shine some light on people fighting for our planet. And for the price of a cup of coffee each month, you can join the fight against the doom and gloom and help me make more of these videos, get access to exclusive content and get your name in them too. To support, just scan this QR code right here or type this URL in or tap the link in the description down below. And if it's easier, I've also just set up YouTube memberships, so all you need to do is click the join button down below. Now back to the good news, and Guatemala is shutting down its main oil operation and turning the site into a military and police base to protect one of Central America's most threatened rainforests. The Zan oil field sits inside Laguna del Tigre National Park, part of the vast Maya Biosphere Reserve, which has been rapidly deforested by illegal cattle ranching, logging and drug trafficking. Instead of renewing the oil contract, President Bernardo Arevalo chose to repurpose the site as an enforcement hub. The oil operation had also become increasingly unviable, requiring huge amounts of water and posing serious pollution risks. The new base will support patrols across the 800,000-acre park where criminal groups have been clearing forests for cattle ranches that also serve as landing strips for drug planes. Environmental groups say that the move could mark a turning point for conservation, but warn that real success will depend on tackling corruption and enforcing the law where past efforts have failed. We're finishing on 2 stories about protecting our natural world and the wonderful beings on it, and the first of those was right here in the UK. The UK just announced its most ambitious animal welfare reforms in a generation, banning trail hunting, ending puppy farming, and finally protecting crustaceans like lobsters from being boiled alive. Trail hunting will be banned after over 20 years of being used as a cover for illegal fox hunting. The government says that using large packs of hounds with animal-based scents puts wild mammals, pets, and the public at risk, and allows illegal hunting to continue hidden in plain sight. The government is also ending puppy smuggling and puppy farming by closing loopholes in pet travel rules and introducing a new registration scheme for all dog breeders to improve traceability and tackle low welfare breeding practices. And for marine life, while crustaceans like lobsters, crabs and octopuses were recognised as sentient beings in 2022, the government will now publish guidance clarifying that live boiling is not an acceptable killing method, sparing these animals from unnecessary suffering. These reforms are part of a comprehensive strategy that also includes banning snare traps, phasing out cages for laying hens, and much more, proving that lasting change for animal welfare is finally on the horizon. And the final story is to do with my necklace, actually. I always wear this as a bit of a conversation starter to talk about how awesome bees are. For example, did you know that 1 in every 3 bites of food we eat is thanks to bees and other pollinators? Pretty cool. And there was news this month that stingless bees in Peru have become the first insects in history to gain legal rights in a landmark victory for the growing rights of nature movement. 2 local ordinances in Peru granted fundamental rights to at least 175 species of stingless bees. The laws recognise their right to exist and flourish in a healthy environment, free from pollution, habitat loss and climate change, and humans can now file lawsuits on the insects' behalf. It's like the bee movie, but not as strange. Stingless bees are vital pollinators in the Amazon rainforest, helping regenerate forests and capture carbon while supporting crucial food crops. They've also been cultivated by indigenous communities like the Ashaninka and Kukama Kukamiria since time immemorial, who use their honey and pollen for food and medicine. And that's a wrap. Thank you so much for watching, and tap that like button down below if you've enjoyed this video, and subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. I'll see you in a couple of weeks. Bye!